Hey guys, throttle body injection. It's still the 27th cut, but the intake was flowed with my special sleeper Performer Rpm Quadrajet intake in my 770 carb, and I actually put a bigger exhaust port in with the 50 degree 1.55C. I did squirt some dicam through it, but it's going through the manifold, so I can't tell if that's a shadow coming through. I mean, I think this light powdering right there is new, but everything else is probably where I, cleaned it with the burr before I tested. It looks like a little bit of fresh stuff right around the plug. And very, very light powdering on the valve. Now you have to remember I took the carb off and I sprayed it into the intake manifold. Let me show you what the intake manifold looks like. Okay, the intake manifold's kind of cool. Now, what I did was I shot the dicam in at maybe a little bit higher angle than I should have. Let's see if I can get my pointer. Okay, I'm going to say I did an angle like this. I probably should have had it straighter, but, it's a learning thing, guys. In any case, you can see what's going on. Right, you can see by the divider how it's turning, how it sticks right to the floor, or it comes off the floor and it goes straight to that back wall. Serious zoom action. Sorry, guys. Okay. It's kind of interesting how it stops right there. Oh, come on. Okay. You can see where the heavy liquid was on the wall, and then it's lightly powdered, so it more or less vaporized, I guess. I don't know. Interesting to look at, though. And it's going to be a pain to clean off. The only way to clean that off is really go through it with a burr. Or run some gasoline through it. That'll probably wash it right away. Okay, I really can't see any fresh dicam on here. And it looks like I did a pretty crummy job cleaning off the old dicam, to be honest. But maybe a touch on that guide, boss. Okay, so we're going to get some questions like, why would you test it with the Performer RPM? This thing needs a tunnel ramp. Yeah, I know that, but my Victor was in storage and the RPM was right next to me. So I threw it on just for an experiment, guys. In any case, this is what we had, right? This is the 2.1 on a 45. I'm still thinking about bringing it up to a 50 and see what it does, but I don't know. In any case, this is a nice solid curve. We're almost 300 at 600. Now remember, a stock RPM only flows about 220. So this has been ported out a decent amount. And it does have a notch in the plenum, which helps it share barrels. And the low lifts that actually went up, that's due to the runner length. Okay? The second degree freedom that's built into a dual plane does help the lower lifts, okay? They're actually more than the bare head. After that, of course, we take a decent step down everywhere. I mean, at 600, we went from 298 to 232.7 through the intake. Now, I pulled the carb off, and I go 249. So that gives you an idea how big a restriction a 770 carb is. Okay, I was never one of these guys that said you had to run a little tiny carburetor. I always liked a little bit bigger carburetor. And now I know why. Yeah, they're a little tougher to tune, but when you do fix them up, they make a big difference. Now, I can't do any air speeds on this because the intake manifold prevents me from doing air speeds in the port. In any case, you'd make a nice street ride with this, okay? Right around 500, 225 and change. That's probably the same as like a 280 CFM head with a stock Victor Jr. on it. Victor Jr. only blows 240, so you put them together, you'd be lucky to get 225. Okay, I should show you the bore. All we've got is a light shadow here. This is some old Dykem that I didn't get off very well, but this is all we've got right here. Okay, let's compare our 1.55 exhaust ports. This was the 66cc port. This one's going to be a little bit bigger. How did we do? Well, these pluses and minuses are in reference to this. All right, we got a tiny gain here, minus, a minus with noise that we didn't have before. We've got a minus, actually we got a plus here, but it was, see the B? That means it's buffeting. It's making a funny sound, but it's still slightly better than it was. After that, it gains everywhere, okay? Not huge gains, 198.8 to 204.6. And with a pipe, 221.1, 225. 225 is not a bad number for a stock casting that I'm really not making thin. It's quite small. And the only thing I did is I made the throat a little bit bigger. I made the whole port a little bigger. And I raised the exhaust roof a little bit. Okay? Now, it's going to be a relatively high RPM piece. So I'm thinking this is not bad. Somebody was saying, forget the 1.55, just go for a 1.5 and see what you can do. I may wind up doing that. Because even at this, I bet this throat, see this throat here was only 85%. Let's measure out this throat while you guys are on pause. Okay, it didn't really change our percentage that much, but I also don't want to make the port too thin. So we went from an 85% throat to about an 87.3% throat. And we got some decent gains in here. And I don't think the port is that much bigger. Maybe 1.5 cc's, I'm guessing. Okay, our airspeeds really didn't change so much. That was our 27th cut. This is a cut after on the exhaust. And in reality, it's only this was the first cut with that size valve. So in reality, this is only a second cut with this size valve. All right, how do we do with our airspeeds? Well, that went up one, down a little, down a little, down a little, up a little, died. We lost 108 on the floor. Somebody else made a question about, floor speed. That seems to change a lot with the throat ratio. The more you open up that throat ratio, the easier it seems that the floor dies. That's just an observation that I've come across. Okay, 305, 305, the same. 345, 345, same. 250, it went up a touch. Okay, not bad. Taking it 600, and it flows a few more CFM. I'm kind of going to take it as a win. I did go over to storage and grab my Victor. It is already cut for a 1206 gasket, so it's not a big deal to put it on there. I'm battling in my head what I need to do with these next for my next test. In reality, like somebody else said, this port's kind of done at this point. And I did a bunch of work to that 194 port. I don't think I published that yet, but that was not a winner. I took a bunch of metal out of that inside bowl ramp, and it was a loser. Something else I probably should bring you guys up to speed on. December 23rd was a rough night for us. My daughter Carla, my 21-year-old, crashed my dad's 2009 Buick Enclave. Luckily, she only came out with some bumps and bruises, but the Buick is gone. Is it that big a deal? No, it's not that big a deal. It was an older car, you know, it had a lot of miles on it, and the tranny was starting to go, but it's still kind of heartbreaking. It was my dad's. I did inherit it. And I know the kid's crushed because she loved it. She made it pink with her wrap and stuff, and she was going to get it as a graduation present, actually. We were going to sign it over to her. Well, tough to do now. In any case, if I'm not up to my usual production levels, you guys know why. And it is Christmas Eve, so I'm doing this on Christmas Eve. Wifey's yelling at me. She wants me to do something else. But I gotta work through this piece by piece. Better for me to keep my mind occupied. You know what I mean, guys? All right, guys. Have a Merry Christmas. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night.